next weekend on the Drive-In Asylum double feature, we will have horror, vampire, bat bites with two baddie movies, Chosen Survivors and The Bat People.
It's positively baddie. Free rubber bat to the first 100 people.
It's called Maui Wowie. It's primo.
Man, Manos gets me every time. I love it. I want to know what first timers thought of it in the chat, please. But man, I love it. The music alternates between being haunting and being, as I said, the music that plays over Snoopy and Woodstock playing together. And I'm here for all of it. Becca wants to get all the music as on vinyl and play it in front of our non-existent fireplace. So that's going to be a night. We'll just like lounge in front of. It'd be very Dr. Alex Comfort lounging in front of the fireplace to the Manos soundtrack.
I thought it was brilliant, and it shifted back and forth between moods so easily. What can't the soundtrack to Manos do?
So I love this movie because like it is like there are attempts at making the dreamlike narrative make sense, like row, row, row your boat being, an endless repetition, and that this is going to repeat where Mike becomes Torgo, etc. But like, there's a lot to talk about, so I'm going to very disjointedly talk about it. Mike's a lot older than his wife, right?
Yeah, what's up with that?
That's second wife, right? Third, maybe. He's a daddy, definitely, I think, and she's fine with it. She's very young though, and way prettier than he needs. So I think Mike's probably relatively successful, I'd say.
Well, yeah, that was sort of like a thing.
Yeah.
Like think back to movies in the 50s and 60s. There was always some really old guy who had this super hot young wife.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
It's even like that today. I mean, Tom
Sure,
Cruise
yeah.
might not look like he's in his 60s, but he's always going to date younger. But
It
yeah,
exists.
like
This movie does not shy away from reality. Manos is realistic. It's life up there on the screen for you to consume.
yeah, I like the
Right.
fact that at one point you're like, okay, like if you think about when it came out in '66. So like LaVey didn't do the Walpurgis stuff until like the next year. So like it doesn't have any Church of Satan influence, but it does. And it doesn't have any Manson influence, but it does. It's like really weirdly that it's before all these things, and yet it's still kind of doing them. Do you know what I mean? And also, like, it goes from like you think you're watching a movie about a freaked out cult, but really it's about the political and romantic tensions within the cult. Is like most of the dialogue is the women all arguing.
Yeah.
And there's an extended period, and I said to Bill, my favorite part is the ADR net scene of one of the wives goes, "I don't even know why we're here. I don't even know why we're talking about." Also, there's very the fact that all the audio, it's like maybe it's the Italian lover in me, but the audio all being recorded and ADR'd in makes the experience, and with the jazz music in the background, it really feels
Yeah.
like three different things are going on at once. It's very Burroughs cut and paper technique, so it gets super weird.
I prefer that.
Yeah,
I think everything should be 80. Back to Horror Express. That's
yeah.
another movie that's like that. The entire soundtrack is canned.
Hmm.
There was even a great, I think it was Image put out a DVD back before Blu-ray, and there was this really cool bonus feature on it where you could just remove the dialogue from the movie, and you were listening to nothing but the soundtrack and the sound effects. It was
Yeah,
all in
I'd
there.
love. You were telling me about that, and I'd love to hear that because that movie has incredible sound design.
Yeah, it's really bizarre, and you can just it makes it even more obvious how they just laid that in there, and it was but you start to accept it as realistic, and it creates this sort of alternate universe experience.
My
Manos had
also,
that going for it too.
yeah, even though Mike kills the master, he really doesn't kill the master. He just, uh, it's very
You can't kill the
that is the
boogeyman.
H.P. Lovecraftism of it. It's the at the Mouths of Madness where they kind of come back and they're in the same place, And then, there's another couple that's coming, and now Mike is Torgo.
It was
So
bound
that
to happen. We are
was
all
bound.
Torgo.
We're all Torgo, and the daughter is now one of the brides, and she's gonna have to fit in with it. Her voice is sub Bob level dubbed. I see that Mike brought that up. It's really bad. Um, but yeah, but also good. Like there was one point, I don't know if it was maybe when the edibles kicked in or not, but when everybody was kind of talking and Mike was just like, almost his delivery becomes sing songy.
Yeah.
It's like very like there was one part I can't remember what he said, but it was like super like he was like it's almost like we're gonna get out of here, and like whatever he was talking, and it got really weird. And she wants the fuck out. That's what I love. Like she wants out of here, real bad. He's like, let's just stay. And you know what? That is the voice of a man that is tired of driving. Like you know what I mean? They've been in all these places. They've had to stop all these places, and he just wants to get a couple hours sleep.
We've all been there.
Yeah, yeah. They were going to show Torgo's legs in this, but yeah, he was going to have like pan like goat legs. There is a sequel too, which I've not seen. I don't know if I ever want to see the sequel. I wouldn't want to see a remake of this either. Like I'm very happy with
No,
what.
why? Why
Yeah,
would you do that?
I very much love it in the time that it's in. It doesn't need any more explanation. Would I watch Rob Zombie's version? Yes, if it was like Halloween 2 and it was just horses running around, 100% watch it.
Yeah, I have to say, after having said it doesn't need a remake, this would be
Yeah.
a movie I would love for Rob Zombie to remake.
I would actually not be upset if he made. I'd be kind of part of me be like, but then another part of me be like, you know what? Okay, like if as long as he just goes crazy and doesn't remake it, like it needs to just be his
Yeah,
vision.
his own movie. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you
his
remember
own
when he was
movie.
attached to do a remake of The Blob?
I've seen the pictures of it, the storyboards, and it looked great. It went
Yeah.
because he kind of went his own. I'd rather when he goes his own way, when he's slavishly devoted to something, it's kind of lame. But like that's like you said, that's why Halloween 2 is great because it's like where the fuck are you going? And it gets better because of that. Same as what's the other one? The Salem one that you and Becca like the
Lords of Salem.
or just Salem. At least in that one, it's kind of like I don't know where it's going and it's kind of messy and it's kind of very Ken Russell, and I'm cool with that. I'd rather see that than him just making the same movie every time.
I would have loved to have seen his Blob. Show
I
us
would
your
have.
Blob, Rob.
What's your blob, Rob? Let's see it. So yeah. Also, yeah, I think Lee said it earlier. The actor that played Torgo was on acid for the entire movie and died shortly after this movie was made, which kind of adds to his legend. Um, and he's just kind of there. Uh, he was a stage trained actor, though. He had gone to college for acting and then just kind of burned out. Um, but yeah, there's a
On
lot of
acid.
you freaked out.
Lately, I
You never.
freaked out very, very badly.
I never pay for drugs,
I get drugs free.
but there's just something to this that I like about it, and I realize all its shortcomings, but it is very it's definitely got a vibe and a mood for it, which most movies spend millions to get, and this spent 19 grand and got.
Do you think it had vibe at the time, though? I mean, we look back on this, and this is sort of there is definitely a kitsch element to this, even if you take the movie at face
Yeah,
value. There's a
yeah.
kitsch element to the appreciation of a movie like
Mhm.
Manos. So at the time, these things are always seem to be panned and thought of as the worst movies ever made, and somehow over time they gain a certain something.
Yeah.
Bitter
It's
irony.
like someone said today. I was reading on Twitter like Rob Zombie's the Ed Wood of our time. I'm like, hold on a second. I think Ed
Oh
Wood's a
no.
much more interesting film. Not to come back and turn it around to Rob Zombie, but it's the same way as Ed Wood. You can appreciate Ed Wood movies as kitsch and bad, but also Bill and I've talked about it a million times. But like Glenda is a fucking brave movie
Yeah.
to admit, pretty much admitting his his entire life as the hero on film in the early 50s. It's pretty crazy. That's way braver
Yeah.
than any movie anybody's going to make this year. You
It was
know?
very personal. And it
Yeah,
just, of course, the way he put it on screen made it look kind of ridiculous, which may
yeah,
have even made it a little bit easier for
yeah,
those audiences to swallow. But it was definitely, maybe, I don't know if they believed him or not.
yeah.
He was being serious, kind of.
I'm, it's funny because my first introduction to Ed Wood was the Golden Turkey books and the movie It Came from Hollywood, which was on nonstop on HBO for a while. And it's funny when I watched those and I was like, oh, is it's a joke, but on the other hand, it's really not. Like, coming back and seeing them after, I'm just like, yeah, I really, you know what I mean? It's a totally different experience.
Whenever there's always something personal from a director in a movie, at least unless you're talking about something that was, even maybe even porn. You see like stuff like that in porn.
Yeah.
There's references to things that influenced the people that are making the porn. Like they'll do like a sort of porny remake of a well-known movie, or they'll the stupid dialogue. But these movies, there's something personal about these movies that are known as bad. The Ed Woods, the Manos, Hands of Fate. What are some other ones that are always thought of as bad movies?
Uh, yeah, like Plan 9 obviously is another one.
Yeah.
The Brain That Wouldn't Die is considered one. It's considered a bad movie, and I like or so bad it's a good movie, and I disagree on that one too. There's a lot going on in that movie.
What
Uh,
movie?
the Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's
It's
way better
it
than
is absurd,
yeah.
but it's hard to get past that, the idea that it's absurd, but the concept of being just a head in a dish on a table, that's imagine that, and that's a nightmare scenario. You're somehow conscious while you have absolutely no way to control anything that you're doing other than your face.
And also her
People really face that. That's a real thing that people face, and
and
it
I
sort of
like that
spells it out.
when
Not
she is
decapitation.
but when she's lost all agency, she doesn't have
Yeah.
her body. She only has her voice to talk to the thing in the hallway, whatever the other thing in the other room is. What's her fiance doing? He says that he loves her and he's trying to find bodies for her, but in truth, he's really just now he's going through the sexual revolution that he wouldn't have with her because they weren't doing anything until they're married. And now he's kind of out. He's like, oh, isn't that funny? Where he's like, I'm trying to fix your body. There's a million women's bodies, but he has to find the perfect one, and not for
Yeah.
her,
It's
but for
not
him.
enough to just do it and to
Yeah,
save her life.
yeah. And he's taking his time where he's like, you know what, this girl's thighs are much bigger. I like that. Like he's very much looking for what is in his proclivities versus what will save her life or extend her life, which is I love about that movie. It's such a
Multiple
strange movie.
layers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boxing Helena.
It's funny though, because uh, these movies. I think the difference is that these. I've said before, like the only bad movie is a boring one. These movies aren't boring. Obviously, I mean this one isn't even long enough to be boring. There's so much that happens. Do you know what I mean? And so much like what, like kind of things that happen, and then it's over. It's 58 minutes or whatever.
Wow, Death Dream, the worst movies ever. I don't know about
Absolutely not.
that.
No,
I mean, I believe you that you've seen it that way, Nora, but I don't know who would even say that.
I love it. So yeah.
What about Robot Monster? That's another bad one that I kind of like.
I like it a lot because it's post-apocalyptic and it's really, if you think about it, it's a really dismal idea that these are the only people left in the world,
Yeah,
and
another
also
nightmare scenario.
a robot with a TV head, which is great, right? It's just like okay,
Somehow this is what aliens look like.
yeah. Damnation Alley is a movie that just got brought up in the credits.
Oh
In the
yeah, how could we forget that?
yeah, that's why Chosen Survivors is a good version of that. Maybe let's say it's another '70s apocalyptic movie.
Yes.
Someone
Oh
said to me the
yeah.
other day too, they're like they were looking for disaster movies to watch, and they're like, "I read your review of Meteor, and I don't know if you like it." And I said, "Oh, I love it." Like it really comes off in your review like you hate it. You make fun of it the whole time. Like I can witness its shortcomings. It's not a good movie, but it's definitely entertaining. I think all
No.
disaster movies are like the airplane 79, the Concorde, is not a good movie. But have I watched it more than 20 times? Uh huh. I've watched all the airport movies more than 20 times.
It's the final segment. I can take my jacket off, right?
Oh yeah,
So let me
get
tell
into
you
it.
more about me.
Yeah.
Me.
I think yeah, Little Shop of Horrors. Someone brought up a lot of the Corman movies are like bad movies. I was kind of writing about a movie called Blood Games this week. Have you seen that, Bill?
I don't know. Blood, and I don't
Oh
think so.
man, man, it's about a women's softball team
Okay,
that comes to
no.
that comes to a redneck town. It's a Israeli female director. It's the only movie she ever made in '89, and she is a this girls softball team plays for money across the deep south, and they beat guys all the time. Well, the guys in this town can't stand that they were beat by women, so they decide to kidnap them and try to kill all. Like it's very Deliverance. I Spit on Your Gravy mixed with A League of Their Own. Let me tell you what, it's
Wow.
not good. It's real fucking weird, and but it's also strange because it is like at once really smart and all the women have agency, but also super exploitative with like tons of shower scenes and it's
Of
very
course.
exploitative gravy. And it's like, but it's weird because it's like it's not bad, but it's like, and it's I don't feel bad watching it. It's a very weird experience. So that's kind of what I like about it.
Uncle Spooky, we are trying to get him on the show for October. So
Yeah.
don't you worry, Darren.
We
Uncle
were
Spooky
just
will be back.
discussing potential guests in the in between moments.
He's doing really good. I don't know if you all are aware of this, but Uncle Spooky is in the running for a contest called The Face of Horror. Isn't
Yeah,
isn't that it?
that's it.
So I posted on Groovy Doom the link where you can go and vote for him, but he's in the lead. So he's doing really good. He has a good chance of winning, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
I think the prize is like 10 grand or something, and you get to be in a
Whoa.
movie. And
Yeah.
I think I am going to break out this fireball. Do you think that's wrong
Yes.
of me?
No, I think it's the right idea. I think you picked the right move. I don't know. This is a movie that I think if this is kind of how I know I can get along with someone. If you watch this movie and you're like, that was shitty, like what I hate when people get mad about how bad a movie is, right? Where they're like, I
Yeah,
can't like why would they even make that? That's so bad. Instead of looking at it and being like, wow, like a whole town kind of came together and made that and was a fertilizer salesman that met the guy who created Route 66, Sterling Phillips, and thought he could make movies too because he went to a diner with that guy.
yeah.
It's
Like,
like,
where's your movie, huh?
yeah. Well, that's what's funny. In that
Med
director,
Feds.
that writer I was talking about that I talked to today, Matt Farley. He said people always watch his movies and then they want to talk to him about how they could write a better movie. And he's like, "Of course you could, but have you done it? Like I've made 10 movies. You haven't made any. Like I'm totally willing to listen to you. Go make yours. Like you have better stories than me. I'm sure you do. But that's the thing. It takes commitment to make this movie happen. It's a miracle when they happen.
Oh, this was not a mistake. This is really good. This is
What are
apple
you drinking?
cider, vanilla vodka, and a little bit of Fireball.
I have apple cider and moonshine and a little bit of butter shots. So we're close to
Ooh,
each other.
it's
It's the
starting to
drink I brought the
tingle.
first night, the one that we finished up the first night with.
It's starting to tingle. Oh, thank you for making all those fabulous drinks for the drive-in, by the way.
Oh, it was a blast. I tell you, what, it was great. I just wish it was a little warmer at night, but that's okay.
Oh, I was
So,
fine with it. I had the blanket to
oh
curl
yeah,
up under.
it's funny because Becca was half awake when I came back to the car on Saturday, and she said, we can go whenever you want." And I'm like, "Do you understand how like this is like being here with this with less cars and watching this movie? Do you know what I mean? And being in this environment, like this is like as close to heaven as I think exists in the
Yeah.
multiverse. So like I just want to, even if you're half awake, like I just am enjoying this, looking out and seeing the moon and everything. It was pretty great.
There's been some great fourth films at the Monsterama. One of them was Shockwaves.
Yeah.
That was the last movie of the night, I'm pretty sure. And the lot was empty, nearly empty, and it was misty, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and there's Shockwaves up on the big
Yeah.
screen. Magic.
There's guys rising from the water,
Over
and
and over.
over and over, but still wonderful. Hey,
Oh yeah.
you want to see what I got in the mail this week?
Yes, please.
Okay, well, the Kino sale is going on. I'm not trying to sell you on Kino Werber, but maybe I am. Whoops, I just dropped the painting. I'm gonna fix that in the morning. All right, so here's what I got from Kino. I got the apple, perhaps coming up on the show at some point.
We may be doing the apple, yeah. Wink,
Yeah,
wink.
yeah. And this played at the drive-in. House of Long Shadows.
Oh, hey, there's Scott Porter.
Hey, Scott.
Nice to see you, Scott, and thanks for hanging out with us on Friday night.
Uh, probably Vincent Price's scummiest movie. Less of $1,000.
That's pretty accurate. Yeah, that is a scummy movie.
Another canon movie shot right down the street from me, Maria's Lovers, with Natasha Kinski, who also played the drive-in last week.
That's right. A very young Nastasia Kinski.
The wonderful Revenge of the Ninja. As well as this is in Bill's in Driving Asylum 81 yearbook I wrote about Enter the Ninja, my favorite ninja movie, and probably in my top 10 canon movies ever. That's a wonderful movie. And a very early kind of criminy, Giallo-esque movie, 23 Paces to Baker Street, which is really good. Have you ever seen that, Bill?
No.
It's about a blind woman who has come to London to live, and it's called 23 Paces because that she measures everything out by how many footsteps she is away from things, and she hears a murder but doesn't get all of it. So it kind of really influenced Argento as he made Bird, because the idea that you're missing a little something.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got a couple more too, man.
Oh, I thought you were done.
No, we had 2 weeks worth of stuff, so a whole bunch of stuff in the second. So these are from MVD and Scorpion. Curse 3, Blood Sacrifice, with Christopher Lee. This is under 1 million different titles. It wasn't even made to be a Curse movie. And they just put out Night Visitor, which I've never seen, which I'm pretty excited about. This is the second Bud Spencer movie with Terrence Hill. Ace High, that's from Kino. And this one came from Cleopatra Records, speaking of goth music. Frost. And also Kino sent another great Vincent Price movie. And Christopher Lee, The Oblong Box.
Cleopatra Records?
Yeah, they put out Danzig's movies on DVD too.
Cleopatra. That was like where 80s bands went to die.
Yeah, they would do like whole those comp stuff. I got 3 left, Bill. You showed it already, but Slaughter Day, which highest recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
We got Revenge and Blood of the Chupacabras. This is also Visual Vengeance, and man,
yeah, I got that one too.
Yeah, you're gonna love it, Bill. The first one is very much like a Corman movie where you don't see the monster.
I love that face. It's like Reagan.
Yeah, that's what he looks like. And finally, LA Age Jabber, which is on Tubi too. And there's a great New York Ripper-ish poster that they made that went with it. It's kind of cool.
That is New York Ripper-ish.
Yeah. And I think you saw there's another Leanna Quigley starring Visual Vengeance movie coming out in November, which has never been released, this Linnea Quigley movie. So pretty exciting.
Has that been announced?
Yeah, it got announced. This one just did on Friday. It is called. Let me look it up. It's not. I can't say about the other. I can't say what I was going to say. There's some other stuff that they have coming up.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing I thought you were going to talk about.
No, that's whenever, because when this one came out, I wanted you to know that hey, that other thing's still coming out too. But I don't mean to be so cryptic. I guess it's late, but. The other one that they're putting out is Heartland of Darkness. It was made in '89. It was AKA Blood Church. and that's never been even released on VHS. So that's their next release, um, as well as Moonchild, the Todd Sheets movie, which is a post-apocalyptic werewolf movie, and just watched it the other night, and yeah, it's also real good. So yeah, yeah, a lot of movies to watch, and also in the middle of Fantastic Fest, and I have two other fests coming up next week too. So it's a lot of movies going on all at once. So really cool doc I watched today called Lynch Oz, which is about the connections between David Lynch and The Wizard of Oz and how it's reflected in all his movies. And John Waters is also in it to talk about what The Wizard of Oz means. It's pretty good doc so far. It's definitely right up my alley. And some great shorts too. There's one called Prom Car 91, which is awesome. It's very 90s direct-to-video slasher, but self-aware and really good.
I love hearing John Waters talk about almost anything.
Oh, I know. I love when he comes and does his just like this filthy world ones where it's like it's a different performance every time because he's going to talk about something completely
Yeah.
different, like whatever he's obsessed about at the time. He's just
I don't
gonna
even
talk
want to
about.
hear him talk about his movies anymore. Like
Yeah,
I want to hear him I want to hear political commentary by John Waters. Or,
I love when he talks about art movies that I
cooking with
don't
John Waters.
like. When he talks about art movies like Hail Mary and stuff that I'm probably never going to watch, and like that he really gets in like his top 10 list every year is like I haven't seen any of these, but like I just like hearing you talk about them and discuss them. Yeah, yeah, I would listen to him talk about the weather and be super interested in it.
Oh, he'd make a great weatherman.
Yeah, he's the best man. I have nothing bad to say. I have bad stuff to say about not you, Bill, but almost everybody. And John Waters is in that same era. It's like, man, I have nothing bad to say. Darren said, "Are you excited about the new Done Up Until Christmas release?" It's actually not super high on my list. Am I excited about the Chainsaw 2 and Moon of the Wolf? There's so much Vinegar Syndrome stuff I'm excited about.
Yeah, that Werewolf versus Vampire Woman 4K. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
I sent that to you like inside. I was like, "Did you see this?"
Ah.
Yeah, there's
Of
so much
course,
stuff coming out.
did I see
Um,
it? It has the naked version in it too. Unfortunately, Paul Naschy does not get naked in it.
uh,
And I think like the most that Paul Naschy, he never did full frontal,
no,
but he did show his ass in a couple movies.
he gets in the bathtub a few times too.
He's a big tease in his movies, but he's always teasing it, but he didn't have the nerve, only a couple of times, and he never had the nerve to go full frontal.
Yeah. Well, different time maybe. It was in Franco's Spain, not just Franco's Spain. Just Franco went full frontal. We didn't want to see it maybe, but he did.
Yeah, and then he became Ron Jeremy.
Yeah, exactly. Also this week on the site, I'm doing the Scarecrow Challenge this month for Scarecrow Video in Seattle. 31 different uh, categories across 31 days, and I'm doing the important Cinema Club podcasts also their list too. So I'm trying to find some
Ooh.
really odd movies. Also, all slashers too. So thanks for the slasher records last month, guys. Or last week, or 2 weeks ago. It felt like we were gone for a month. You miss a week and it feels like forever here,
I know. It was only
right?
one show.
It's one
The
show,
last
but
time
like,
the last time we were away for 3 weeks.
I know it was. This is so. I'm glad it felt like we were away for a while, but we also get to see folks too. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah. This week
Yeah.
just flew by. It was crazy. And I
Oh,
was off work. I took a week off work to finish up Haunt and work on some other stuff. Stuff I can't talk about right now, but I will talk a lot about it once I can talk about it. And it just seemed like it was only a couple of days. I
yeah.
was
That's what
not
I
complaining. It
gotta.
was fun.
And now that I have a team at work, it's like getting my team all trained up and all the extra work that's in it. Like this week felt like so much more than I usually ever. I mean, I do a lot already, but man,
So I'm still reeling over the fact that Cleopatra Records puts out movies,
yeah,
um, and not video compilations or live performances. These are movies.
yeah. They put out Danzig's Veronica and this other movie Frost. They've put out, I'd say, at least a movie every 6 months. Generally horror, very gothy kind of horror. It's the movies you would expect Cleopatra put out. You are right. They were the home of compilation albums, like a bunch like Bang Tango covering goth songs. They'd pick like one artist,
Yeah.
and Electric Hellfire Club was on a lot of their stuff too.
Electric Hellfire Club. Yeah, they were all these bands that sort of like went there and died. That was the
Yeah,
last American label that signed Dead or Alive.
yeah.
And Dead or Alive was on Cleopatra Records, and they still made them put "You Spin Me Round" on their new album. Like all
Really,
they
I'm
want to
gonna
do
look
is
and see
put
what
out the
other
same
movies
stuff.
they put out.
What?
It is fascinating that Cleopatra has a video division. I agree with you.
They signed Gene Loves Jezebel
They
at some
did.
point, but it wasn't the real Gene Loves Jezebel. It was Michael Aston, because Michael Aston performs as Gene Loves Jezebel and has his own separate band, even though Jay Aston's Gene Loves Jezebel is the real band. Like they weren't the only ones in the band, and it's still most of the original people that were in it. So they did that, and it was some shitty remix album. They just got him they did all these like DJ Kioki did a lot of stuff for Cleopatra Records, like the DJ Kioki remix of Gene Loves Jezebel tracks. It was awful.
They
Did
put
they
out
embarrassing things like that?
an Engelbert Humperdinck Blu-ray this year, which makes no sense. They did a horror movie called Baphomet this year. Um, Another one called Dreaming Hollywood, and then they also released the Chris Holmes commentary. Chris Holmes movie, the guy from Wasp, who was in Decline of Western Civilization, passed out drunk. Yeah, his movie Mean Man.
Of course.
Steve, thanks for buying the Blu-ray. I'm excited. I'm excited
Yeah,
when people
thank
buy it.
you.
We talked about this movie too, about like bad movies that like people might not give a chance. I would say a lot of the visual vengeance stuffs like that too, where you're definitely getting someone's vision. Do you know what I mean? Of like unfiltered and kind of all by themselves. You know what I mean? Like they aren't listening to any producer or Hollywood or anything. They're just making a movie because they want to make a movie and they're excited about making movies. And that's what's kind of cool about a lot of the ones that are coming out.
Vince, you must have said this after you heard us mention the Electric Hellfire Club.
Reverend Thomas Thorne in the Electric Hellfire Club.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He used to say, "I took the thrill out of I took the kill out of Thrill Kill Call."
Yeah, Cleopatra. They would always be like when Cleopatra would do their ads, like in alternative press. They always be featuring Electric Hellfire Club's Reverend Thomas Thorne. But wasn't really in it that long, but okay, whatever you would need to do.
Yeah,
They have a
whatever.
couple good covers of. They did "Shout at the Devil," the Motley Crue cover.
Yeah,
They did a couple good cover songs. Actually like the first Hellfire Club album.
it's
So
okay. I mean,
yeah,
they're okay. I just don't think they're, I don't
not
like them
Thrill.
as much as I like Thrill Kill Call.
No, they're not as good as Thrill Kill, but
They weren't as versatile as Thrill Kill Call, let's just say. Thomas
yeah,
had his like vision, and it was very specific about what he
yeah,
wanted to do.
yeah. They have their fans, I'm sure. Jenna Torture is another band that seems really similar to them, where it's like they have a very here's what we're doing kind of thing.
Yeah, the Genital Torturers.
Yeah, though they
They
have a really good cover of um, what's the one ACDC song? Uh, they did Sin City and they did another one. There's like another Cleopatra. I bought a lot of
yeah.
Cleopatra tribute album kind of things.
Yeah, there was a
Spoiler, that's the one they did. It's a really good version.
one of those labels put out a tribute to Ministry, and the
Yeah, I had it.
Genitorturers were
Yeah,
on that. And it was a
yeah.
weird, like, one-off thing called the Hardcore Cadaver Sex Dogs. And it was them with Groovy Man doing a
Oh wow.
cover of Tonight We Murder.
Oh
Which is it really a cover when the vocalist on the original track appears on your cover version?
yeah.
That was interesting.
It's Bill and I have talked millions of times. I love pre-industrial ministry maybe more than Industrial Ministry.
With
It's really
Sympathy Ministry.
yeah, with Sympathy Ministry because I think it's just so man. Other than I'm fascinated when bands do. We talked about it this week. It probably wasn't on the show, but Bill and I were like talking about the cult, where the cult went from hippy dippy loud to like all of a sudden being like a cock rock band on electric. I love when bands do that kind of flip. They're like, fucking whatever, we'll just do something totally like unexpected and different. And electric's the height of what the cult would do. But
Do you like Al's commercials? His soda commercials?
I haven't seen his soda commercials.
Yeah, if you like pre-industrial ministry, when he was doing that with Sympathy, he recorded jingles for there's a Shasta commercial
Oh wow.
and something else too, and it's like a ministry song, but it's a soda commercial.
I remember I was talking to you one time because I didn't want to go to the ad awards one year, and I was texting you in the car, and then like I needed to tell her came on, and I'm like, this feels like a good omen. I should like go in now. I was just sitting in a car smoking weed, not wanting to go to the ad awards, and I was like, well, this if this song played, you know, obviously fate's telling me to go in. I had a fine time.
Vince,
Yeah,
normally I
early
hate this
ministry.
kind of thing, but I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for this one.
Yeah. Trying to think what other bands would have been on those Cleopatra ones. Oh, I bought so many. If I think about the money I wasted buying the CDs, it's
Sig Sig
staggering.
Sputnik.
Yeah,
They got signed to
yeah,
Cleopatra. So did Taco.
really.
Taco had a one-off thing. I don't think they never did an album for Taco, but they had him re-record Putting on the Ritz, and it was just a really bad idea, of course,
Yeah,
because it wasn't the original recording, and that's all anybody wanted to hear.
it's funny. I watch a lot of YouTube videos of like music. We watched them during New Year's Eve that one time of like new wave stuff, and like there was one of like best one hit wonders, and Taco was on it. I think Taco did more than maybe just in the U.S., but do you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
Taco,
Taco has
yeah,
many albums, and I have every
yeah,
single one of them. I'm the biggest
yeah.
Taco fan you know, Sam
That's
Panico.
the thing I hated. But I hate. We were watching one of those at one night, and it was like, "Oh, this is the only song this band had." You and I were like, "No!" Like,
Yeah.
that's
Flock of
bullshit.
Seagulls. That's the one that always gets me. Everyone calls Flock of Seagulls a one-hit wonder. And they
Yeah,
weren't. They had like 4 big hits in
yeah.
the 80s.
Well, Aha's another one because they had
Yeah.
"The Sun Always Shines on TV" is a really big song, and then yeah, maybe they only had 2 hits in our country, but they've had a whole career.
Yeah.
You know, the world is bigger.
They're literally packing stadiums in
Yeah,
Brazil and Latin America, and
yeah,
just because they weren't big in America, in the
yeah.
US.
Yeah. We're gonna just Bill and I are just gonna do a whole show where we play 120 minutes in the corner and we talk over the songs and talk about what bands meant to us back then. Like I'll talk a lot about Pop Elite itself and
Ah,
and
Sig Sig
you
Sputnik reference. No.
know.
I knew I loved you. I love Sig Sig Sputnik. They were like Frankie Goes to Hollywood, where
They were one of those bands that whenever they would show like the bad influence of MTV, they would always show pictures of them. You know what I mean? Like do you want your kids to look like this?
they were like Frankie Goes to Hollywood in that they weren't really a band. They were a concept, and they were this
Yeah.
pretend band that people put together an album and like did this elaborate packaging for it. The Sig Sig Sputnik album packaging is amazing.
Oh really? Oh
Oh
man.
my god, yeah. There were actual ads on the album. They sold space on the record. Like after Love Missile F111 went to number 1 in the UK, and they like scrambled to put together this full length album, and they sold commercials on the album, and there's commercials for like Vidal Sassoon and all this other stuff on there.
Oh
And like
man.
you should look at it sometime. The vinyl, it has this glorious tabloid look to it. It's just all this
Oh man.
stuff pasted. You could tell that I would love something like that after looking at an issue of Drive-In Asylum.
It's well, I think that's bands that cross over with branding are a big thing. Obviously, KLF's a big deal to me because like 90% of KLF is the branding of them. Like if you look at stuff that I design, it's always big blocky Helvetica. The look of KLF, black, red, and white stuff, and the idea that they
Yeah.
created this weird secret society thing where it doesn't exist, and like continually putting out albums under different names, and then the whole act of disappearing and burning their money and
Burning their money. Yeah, that was a
canceling
good
their
one.
entire catalog and not selling any of their records until this year. It's pretty
People
awesome.
went to sleep that night without having eaten, but the KLF had to burn their money and make a statement.
I love it, dude. I'm sorry. I'm a big fan. So I really like all their music too.
Me too. I like them. I remember they
Yeah,
had that one album that you couldn't buy anymore because all the samples were pirated, and
yeah,
they had that in a shop once, and I don't know why I didn't buy it. It used to sit, and remember Collector's 12-inch in
yeah,
Pittsburgh? Collector's
yeah,
12-inch had that behind the counter, and I should have bought it.
yeah. You should have. Oh man, I forgot all about Collector's 12-inch. Fuck.
Collector's 12-inch, yeah.
Yeah,
That guy that ran it, Wayne, was he was crazy. Wayne Miller was his name.
yeah, yeah. Where was that at? Shit.
It was
No.
right across the street from Jerry's when Jerry's was in Oakland.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was on the
That's all.
second floor
They had
of a
tapes and stuff, and they sold
mhm.
there too, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and they had boxes and boxes of these promo CDs from radio stations. Talk
yeah.
about Sig Sig Sputnik, like, I bought one of their radio promos, and it was from the 2nd album, which was really rare, and they did it with Stock Aitken Waterman.
I think all the kids that went to PTS would just that were on PTS just sold all their stuff to them.
Yeah, it had to have been. It was good stuff, and I
Yeah,
bought all this stuff for $1, and then when the eBay days, I had it in a big box, and I went and looked through
yeah.
all that stuff I bought at Collector's 12-inch, and it was all worth, like, $50, $100, $150 on eBay.
There's also like a lot of those bands that were like in the post. I would always go there like post grungy, like to find out like because back then like you had to spend a lot of money to hear a band,
Mhm.
so you
It
just
was a
buy
lot of
them.
money to us.
Yeah. So like when band, I'm trying to think of the post. These are like not even the got in like post Nirvana bands that nobody we were talking about today. Not even the big ones, but it was like you'd listen to just buy. My roommates and I used to live on Semple. We just go over there, just buy tons of tapes and just listen to them together. And like you know,
Mhm.
10% of it was good stuff, but it was a buck of tape, so whatever, just buy it.
Yeah, it didn't matter, and vinyl was so cheap.
Hmm.
I look back on it, I wish I could time travel and buy all that shit.
I think you know what I have a very vivid memory in my head of that store because they had a lot of like plastic cases, what I mean, like bins around everywhere, and it was almost like kind of mazy in there, like walking around everything. And I just remember thinking, like, man, can you imagine? I think about that, and I think about the Sam Goody in Oakland too, that was like 2 floors, and I'm like, fuck, imagine if that was still around. Like if you knew now, like I would have probably just, you don't need this money that you're spending on books, just buy all this shit and keep it.
Yeah.
Like these DVDs and shit, just buy them. But
Yeah, I
we didn't
remember
know.
they used to have all the, Cure albums on vinyl, and
Yeah,
some of the rarest shit, like, you could like, Disintegration on vinyl. We took that for granted because that was such a big record. We were like, "Oh, this is gonna be around forever," and now you can if you have a copy of Disintegration on vinyl, you can sell it on eBay for big bucks, and I don't know why, but, I mean, it's just really sought after now.
that's the album I listened to probably in '91 the most. I
We all
just listened.
did.
Yeah, I know, but it's like such a depressing album. Oh,
Yeah. Oh my god, that was it. Like, you would turn out the lights and play Disintegration really loud
I
and think
would.
about how horrible your life was.
Oh, what a bad bummer trip we were all on.
I think I'll cut myself now.
That's my favorite part of South Park is whenever they have the all the kaiju in it and Robert Smith defeats him. Kyle yells at him because hey Robert Smith he goes Disintegration is the best album ever and he's like thank you Kyle. It's true. I mean it works out.
So,
Man,
I guess
I'm wistful of Oakland of old now after talking about this. Man,
oh, Jerry's was like magic.
oh,
That was, if none of you listening know, there's a great record store in Pittsburgh called Jerry's. If you're into vinyl, you've at least heard of this place because it's a gigantic warehouse-sized store just crammed with vinyl of all genres. mega soundtrack collections, and you can just browse through all this stuff and buy it. And even just browsing through all that vinyl is very overwhelming. You know, like you go to
Robert Crumb
Jerry's, you're
designed
gonna
their logo too, which is crazy.
Robert Crumb.
Yeah, he designed their logo for
Hmm.
278, which is
Yeah.
nuts.
I have the T-shirt.
Mhm.
They put it on a T-shirt. He drew a
Yeah.
picture of Jerry and his son, a
Yeah.
caricature, and like sort of a really Jerry looks kind of like he really looked in real life, but the son has aged about 40 years and
Yeah.
is somehow older looking than Jerry. But it's Robert Crumb, so whatever.
That's the kind of store that like you can go in, especially I'm thinking of the Oakland days too. You would go in and be like, I only have $20. That's all I'm going to spend, and you would come out with spending so much money because you're like, when am I ever going to find this again?
You could get a
Like
lot
I'm
of
not
shit
gonna.
for $40.
Yeah, and you're like, I just remember going there, and Noah would go, and I would go there, Stedford's in the attic in one day
Yeah.
when we got paid and get stuff, and like we would just go through the stack of stuff that we bought. You know what I mean? And just talk through it.
The attic, I used to go in there when I DJ'd. That was my
Did you go there when
connection.
they had the spider monkey that lived in there?
Yes.
Yeah,
The old lady that worked behind the counter, she was like the mother. She looked
yeah,
like she was about 110, and she wore this great looking wig, and should, you know, should be checking out gangster rap CDs for the kids. Should be up there. My mom would be selling them to you.
yeah. That store was. We used to go there all the time. They had so much white label stuff there. It was crazy. You would just have to just go through stuff and listen to it, and just oh man, that's another store where it just felt like you could potentially disappear inside that store. Do you know what I mean? There's just like so much stuff in there.
I remember the time I discovered that Jerry's had a third floor. Well, they were on the second story. They were above McDonald's in Oakland. That was like back
Yeah,
in the heyday. And
yeah,
but one night I discovered there was an attic, and it was full of like soundtracks. And I went up there and bought all these great out of print soundtracks for really cheap. And they had like classical music up there too, and just anything you wanted, you could find it there.
man. Yeah, it's funny now. Like, I don't even think there's a place to buy. Well, there's the exchange, but like there used to be Paul's and Southside. There's not really anything in Southside to buy music now.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Dave's Music Mind's gone, isn't it?
yeah, it's gone. Yeah, there used to be the other place. What was the other place in? I know they changed their name to Soundcat. That we used to be in Bloomfield. What was the one in Bloomfield? Was that Paul's too?
That was, oh yeah, that was Jim's Records.
Jim's Records. Yeah,
And
I
then
used to
it
buy
turned
a
into,
lot of stuff there too.
I went into Jim's all the time, and there were these women that worked there, these two women. Do you remember them?
Uh huh.
They had like long hair. They were both totally gorgeous, like alternative looking chicks back in the 80s, like they were like the girls with the new wave hair and everything. And they were much cooler than anybody who ever walked in there.
Yeah.
And whatever you would ask them for, they would always give you an attitude about why you were buying it.
I,
They would.
I was so embarrassed to buy stuff in that store. Do you know what I mean?
Why?
Just like because I was always
Because of
like, you would
them?
get yeah, because you would get judged when you brought it up there. You're
Yeah.
like, they'd be like,
I love that. I remember, Pete Burns used to work at Pro Records in Liverpool, and he used to do that. He was legendary for like whatever you bought, he would like make fun of you for buying it, no matter what it was, and he'd be like, "This is shit. Why are you buying this?"
I bought a lot of female singer songwriter stuff at Paul's. I know I bought Mary Lou Lord's albums there.
Did
So that's
you?
yeah, yeah. I definitely did. Yeah,
Did
it's
you
not all
buy Why
stereo.
Can't Tori Read?
I did buy it. I know Adam bought it because I know Adam has a lot of Tori Amos. So yeah, he definitely bought that.
Do you remember Why Can't Tori Read?
Oh, I may have looked at her band pictures a bit. Yeah,
It was everywhere. Like that
yeah,
fucking record was everywhere for $1 because
yeah,
nobody wanted it. And then Little Earthquakes came out after that, and all of a sudden this was like the secret Tori Amos album. And I was like,
yeah.
that? Everybody wants that. I mean, it wasn't what I
Oh,
thought
when
it
Little
was.
Earthquakes came out, though, it was like the biggest thing ever.
Right,
It's,
yeah.
yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
she looks like a rocker chick or something on Why Can't Tori Read? I'm like,
Oh yeah, she looks very Tawny Kitaen on it.
what's she doing? Look at it. Who
You
is
got I
she?
can't maybe this, but you know what? There's an alternate universe where that band is the fucking shit. That's the Nirvana of that universe, and we don't know what else Tori Amos can do. There's a universe where Till Tuesday stuck around and we didn't get Amy Mann doing great albums. So I bought "I'm with Stupid" at that same place too. I did definitely bought that Amy Mann record. So like I said, it's funny because like we had a thing at work. Someone asked the other day, like, "What's your favorite album?" And I'm like, I guess it's Black Sabbath, but I could name multitudes. It's not. I mean, but I only listen to Black Sabbath, right?
Mike's on a level 42 kick tonight.
Let's talk about it. I want to know what Mike thinks about level 42. You said nobody wanted to talk about it. I'm going to let you talk about it. Also, thanks to Mike for letting me share out his top 90s movies on the site.
Oh, every single one of them was gold.
Oh my
Absolute
god.
gold.
My friend that responded, Mike, my friend Emily responded to it. She is doing a one. Did I tell you about this, Bill? She's doing a one night play of Single White Female as a musical.
Yes, you
And
shared it on your Facebook page.
yeah, I haven't seen any of it yet, but I know it's very weird. It's definitely starts with the movie and then gets weirder, and it's like a 40-minute version of Single White Female as a musical. So that's pretty sweet.
We're getting some strange funeral songs in the chat. I
Oh
love it.
man,
Sex shooter.
sex shooter. What's
I
yours,
was
Bill?
I was listening to one of Vanity's post Vanity 6 records the other day, and it was awful. I was like, I
Mm.
can't believe she did this. Poor Denise.
Oh, Denise.
I don't
Ah,
know what my funeral song would be. I don't care. I'm gonna be dead. What do I
I'm
care?
gonna DJ your funeral. I'm gonna play
Will
just
you?
the whole Stars on 45 12-inch ultra mix.
There you
Stars,
go.
Stars on 45, and what else? I remember the first time I went to the Oasis in Youngstown. I didn't know that there were 12-inch mixes of songs. I was like 10. They had a whole section that was just 12-inch mixes, and I was like, "What?" My record choice, though, because I'm a young. I have a lot of novelty records. The album that I bought there was the Great White North album. Was my first purchase in that store.
Great White North.
Yeah, Bob and Doug McKenzie album.
Oh, okay. Those
Yeah,
guys.
yeah,
The beer guys.
the beer. Yeah, I bought the whole album. Um, and then I also got the Bickersons radio show album there. They had a lot of radio shows on vinyl there, which was like, yeah, okay,
Radio shows.
yeah. And then like
Like
I
what?
also bought the record that I wish I had bought that I saw there and didn't is they had a photo record of Barnes and Barnes's fish heads
Oh
that was
yeah, shaped like a fish.
shaped like a fish, and like why didn't I buy that?
Yeah.
Like what was I thinking?
I used to see that for years in our local record store in Springdale. It was called B&D Records,
Uh huh.
and they had that in there. I would just
Oh,
go in there. I don't know. They must have been so annoyed with us because I wanted to buy everything in B&D Records, and I would go in there day after day after day and never buy anything and just look through all the records.
mm.
But yeah, I learned a lot. I
Yeah.
learned a lot about different genres looking at that stuff, and you could go listen to it too. At the back, they had a
Oh, really?
turntable.
Oh,
Yeah, which I don't know
we only
why.
had
It's a
like we had Beaver Valley Mall had Sam Goody and or an NRM, I think, and it had those listening stations where there were only 8 records you could listen to. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like, and then you just had to buy it, and you'd be like, you know what, screw it. It's funny. My best friend from high school was I introduced you to him at the drive-in. My friend David, and it's
Mhm.
so funny because he said to Becca, he said his sister didn't know that there was she only knew the Nick Cage Wicker Man, and he's like, yeah, I watched it with Sam like 30 years ago, and Becca's like, what did you guys do? I said, all we did was just go to the mall and buy records and rent movies, like you know. we hated everybody and we just watched horror movies. So it was a good relationship, I think.
That's the perfect relationship.
Mhm. Yeah.
Just think it could be you and him instead of me and you.
Yeah, I think it worked out with us though. It definitely worked out. Who
It's
else would I send weird texts about soft cell being in the Church of Satan to? Come on, you know.
That's true. Well, you're probably limited as to who you can send texts to at 3 in the morning anyway.
Exactly. Like nobody wants to. You're the only person I know. If I send a text about I'm watching Andy Milligan's Blood again, which I am by the way, and fuck
Oh,
that movie. It's so good.
I love it. That was one of the first ones I went to when I got the box set. I was like, I gotta
Oh,
see it
it's
again.
so good. I don't know. Again, it's not Manos, but it's in the same universe. Where it's like, where
Yeah,
did this come from? Who the fuck's it for? What's it about? A lot of questions. But you know what? Like, I'm still good with it. Like, I love it.
it's one of his many Monster Rally films.
Yeah, it's like because it's gonna be coming up on the site. So I had to do like a day with a werewolf movie. I'm like, well, I guess blood kind of fits,
I
a
heard a
little.
cell phone buzz. Was that me or you?
I believe it was you.
Hmm. It sounded urgent. It must have been Andy Milligan. He
That's why I
texts
said there.
me at
By the way, one of the movies I saw at Fantastic Fest was Birdemic 3, which I never would recommend to anybody to watch. But Severn produced it, and they gave the money and never asked to see the script. And I'm like, in case you wonder where your Andy Milligan money went to, it went to make this shitty movie. And David Gregory liked it and sent me a smiley face. I was like, yeah. So they could put out all the box sets they want. Put out more Andy Milligan shit, right?
Go find more Andy Milligan shit to put out.
Oh, I it's amazing. The movies are amazing because like what era are they in? Are they costume dramas? Or, there's like the New York movies, there's the England movies. Like it's just like how did so many movies happen? They have the best titles ever.
The rats
It's
are
just like
coming, the werewolves are here.
is there a better title for a movie ever written?
No.
Like, I remember the first time I heard it and someone was like, it's a really boring movie. And I'm like, does it even matter with that title? Like I want it to be boring. Like I want to just suffer through it at that point. Man.
I'm
There's
so
a lot
excited.
of go ahead, sorry.
No, you.
There's a lot of great music choices going on in the chat, which I definitely appreciate. There's a
Oh
lot of like,
yeah. John
yeah,
wants Bela Lugosi's dead. That's
huh.
a good choice. Does nobody want Sushi by the Tubes? Oh, you had me at the Tubes, Mike Justice.
Yeah.
Lover, I won't take a back seat tonight. That's
Man,
my
there's
favorite part of Xanadu when the Tubes make their cameo.
with Olivia Newton-John dying, there's a lot of people that had never watched Xanadu that were posting about it on Twitter, and they're all like, "Where's this movie been my whole life?" I'm like, "It's been fucking here." Do you know what I mean? Like maybe you wanted to make fun of disco and roller skating, and you thought you were above it, but you're not.
That's one of my biggest regrets was not meeting Olivia Newton-John. She played Heinz Hall.
Yeah, how did you not make that happen?
Well, I was this close to doing it and I just didn't do it. I mean, after the concert, I went with a couple of friends, and two of them were my friends Carly and Hoyt, who are they have an independent synth pop band called Candy Apple Blue,
Uh huh.
and they're long time friends of mine. Since I was in my teens, they love Olivia Newton-John, and she was like one of their top shining stars in their sky. And I took them to see Olivia at Heinz Hall, and afterwards, I saw someone on the VP staff of Heinz Hall in the lobby, and I was like, "Oh, Michael, what were you doing?" He said, "Oh, I just took some people backstage to meet Olivia Newton-John." I was like, "She's doing a meet and greet?" And he was like, "Yeah, it was like for some of our donors." And I'm like, the next thing out of my mouth was going to be, "Can we go backstage and meet her?" And I don't know why I didn't say anything. Well, we didn't, and now our
You know
chance
the
is
story about
gone.
me sneaking into the Shatner thing?
No.
So you know,
Oh,
Shatner did that thing where he did the spoken word thing,
yes.
and then like he did like a meet and greet, and it was like $300 or whatever. So Jim Sloss and uh, Jim was like, "Hey, we have this like theory, right? That if you pretend, if you know where, if you act like you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be, no one will notice. It's like a Jedi mind trick, right?" So Jim's like, "Jedi mind trick." I'm like, "All right." So we just acted like we belonged. So when everybody walked over to the meet and greet, we just went with them because they didn't have tickets. So we got upstairs to meet Shatner, and he, you know, we took our pictures with him, and you got to ask him a question if you wanted to, and I'm like, "Do you really speak Esperanto?" And my second question was about impulse, and he was like, "You're not supposed to be here. You stole you snuck in here, didn't you?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Good job." And then that was it. That was our interaction, which I think is probably the best interaction you can hope for, right?
Yeah. It doesn't
Yeah,
get any better than that.
yeah, make a fucking difference. So yeah, but yeah, it was like $300 to go to that. My ticket was 40. So sorry that I took money out of your mouth, Bill, for doing that.
That wasn't at our place.
I wasn't. It was at the other place. Yeah,
It was at the Benedum.
the Benedict. It was
Yeah.
in. Just from the theater square community, I was taking money, maybe.
We have had a lot of people. We've had George Carlin,
Yeah,
um, Bill Murray.
yeah.
That was a weird day. I was sitting at my window and my window darkened. I was looking at my computer. When I looked up, it was Bill Murray.
Whoa.
Like this was only a couple of years ago, but it was obviously before COVID.
Yeah.
It was just so bizarre, and I knew he was there. I just didn't expect to see him appear at my window. He was doing like a poetry reading thing. It was not a comedy show, and
Huh.
many people were confused by that. But he was touring with his friend Jan. I can't remember Jan's last name.
Is
Very
it when Steve
famous.
Martin comes to play just play ukulele?
We had Steve Martin as well, and yeah, he plays the banjo. He came with
Yeah.
his banjo band, and
Okay, but you're not going to put an arrow through your head. No, we're just playing banjo.
no, it's
That's
not
all
going to
we
be
do.
a wild and crazy guys kind of evening with Steve Martin.
No,
I
this
did
is what
not
you
see
get.
Steve Martin though.
Oh man, yeah. Uh, Man, Bill Murray would be hard to meet. I think. I don't know what I'd say. I think
I
it's just.
really blew it because he was like, "Can I get in there?" And he meant the front door. He's like, "Can I go in this way?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I can get you back all the way backstage because I'm going to need a whole bunch of keys to get back there." But Ryan was sitting right there with me, Ryan Clark, and
Yeah.
in the meantime, like these people that were with Bill, maybe his handlers, I don't know, like they opened the lobby doors. They were like, "Bill, come this way," and I was like, "Damn, I could have let him in and had Ryan take him backstage.
Oh,
I blew it."
I was standing next to Ryan when he met Dave Navarro, and that was one of the most. He was really having issues being in reality at that moment.
I can't.
We were like
I
at
would have loved to have been there.
oh my, it was in LA at
Ryan's only gay for Dave Navarro.
oh yeah, we were at Tower Records in LA, and Dave Navarro was picking out records. Ryan's like, I have to have the perfect CD in my hands when I walk past him. Find me these CDs, and I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen? You like win over Dave Navarro in a Tower Records, but yeah, it's a big deal to him, so that's cool. That'd be like me meeting Jess Franco. What would I say? You know,
What could you say?
what could I? How are you still alive? I thought you were dead.
Well, yeah, you'd need a Ouija board to say it, but
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know what I would say, you know? It's like one of my friends on Facebook is in Italy right now, and she met Sergio Martino, and there's a picture of her hugging him. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to handle this. I would. Bill's seen me in front of important people. It's not good.
only Joe Bob Briggs.
I know. But then it's like, this guy influenced a lot of stuff in my life. I should probably tell him how important that is. I'm like, he already knows that. He doesn't want to hear this shit. Like, no, he's normal. Like the conversation in my head was crippling, you know. And so if I just said, blah, 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 and just went, there's Bill.
Oh, I disappeared for a moment.
Yeah. Would I be unprofessional if I went to the restroom quickly?
Why don't we just end it? Because I was just thinking about ending it.
Sounds good. I think my bladder will end the show. We'll blame it on the rain, as Millie
All
Vanilli
right.
said.
So, because we're already at 1 hour and 10 minutes for this final segment, and Sam's bladder calls, we're going to end the show. Make sure you come back next weekend, and we will be watching 2 Bat films. Bat people on the Drive-In Asylum double feature, and we hope to see all of you there.
Thanks guys for coming.
Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.